Bismillah ar-Rahman Rahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome you all from National PK CERT Cyber Emergency Response Team, PK CERT CyberWatch webinar series. Today we have our 6th webinar and we have invited Mr. Talib Nadeem Usmani. Talib doesn't need any kind of an introduction in cybersecurity domain, but I would like to give a brief introduction of Talib. Talib Nadeem Usmani brings over 15 years of expertise to his role in cybersecurity, specializing in vulnerability assessments, penetration testing for IT and OT environments, threat intelligence, and red teaming. His focus is primarily on sectors such as oil and gas, mining, manufacturing, refining, and chemical industries. Currently, he is based in Atlanta, USA, working with Honeywell Inc. at their industrial cybersecurity centers for excellence and innovation, a position he has held for more than 5 years. So today we have invited Talib Usmani to share his expertise on ICS security and ICS penetration testing. Welcome Talib, Assalamu alaikum, how are you?
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much, Imran Sahab, for the introduction. So let me start with a disclaimer, then I will give a brief introduction about myself. So I have a lot of content which I gathered from different sources. Most of the time when you see my slides, you will find these sources. If not, then I will have an extra slide at the end where I will identify and name out all these sources where I've used any images from, but a lot of things were used from ChatGPT. You may or may not find some logos and they're the property of the respective owners. Also, one thing which is very important is there are two things important when I'm delivering this session. One thing which is important is that all of the information which I'm going to share is my own opinion, and it doesn't necessarily reflect my employer. Another thing, because we are going to talk about OT penetration testing more, please do not replicate whatever I'm discussing in my webinar today without the consent of the system owner, because if you don't know what you are getting into, you can probably shut down a running system, which can cause a lot of financial damage or maybe physical damage as well. So with the disclaimer, I'm going to reset my timer and I'm going to start. So I'm conducting IT, OT penetration testing since last 15 years. I've done a couple of certifications like OSCP from offensive security. OSWP is for the web app penetration testing. When I started my career, I was much involved in web penetration testing. I still like conducting web penetration testing. Those people who know me, they would still say that I am still into a lot of web penetration testing. It's something I enjoy. I enjoy gathering information from the when I'm testing the wireless. I have done a couple of certifications other than that from, let's say, 𝐒𝐲𝐞𝐚, CEH. There are a couple of certifications like practical and then CH master. I have completed my CRTP some years back, done Alien Vault. I've done a lot of vendor certifications as well, which I have mentioned in this. Over the last 15 years, I have also done a lot of pen test. I have done, it says over 400. I know that it has crossed that by now. I have done about hundreds of web application, mobile application. I started my career in Pakistan and I worked in Pakistan for almost 8-9 years. Then I moved to Dubai. I was working for a well-known startup in Dubai. From that startup, I moved on to Honeywell, where I'm currently working at as a lead penetration tester for the OT penetration testing. From Dubai, Honeywell, I moved to US Honeywell. So now I'm based in Atlanta since almost around 2-3 years. And I am basically serving this region for OT penetration testing. I'll make myself a little bit comfortable and probably I'll switch off the camera and we can get back in when we have a Q&A. Maybe we can have an open camera session and open mic. So what is this talk all about? This talk is about OT security. We will talk about some of the cyber attacks, talk about basic differences which we have in the IT and the OT cyberspace. Because when I posted this session, I was asked by a lot of people that will you be talking about OT penetration testing? How long would that session be? So I shrunk down all of my other slides and I'll mostly focus on the OT penetration testing. And we'll at the end talk a little about career, how you can get in, what probably certification you would need, or do you need a certification? And then we will move forward from there. So OT cybersecurity is focused on protecting the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the system, and it controls the real world processes. However, the availability and the safety often takes priority over confidentiality in the industrial environment. When we are talking about the industrial environment, we are talking about mostly the manufacturing, oil and gas. We are talking about different subsets of these systems. We are talking about even refineries. When we are talking about again, OCS, we can also talk OT, cybersecurity. We are also talking about buildings. We are talking about anything which has any kind of automation. Generally, we have some kind of challenges when we are talking about the OT cybersecurity, where we have legacy systems and it has been changed over the time, which I will talk about. But when we are talking about OT cybersecurity, we are talking about a Purdue model. Generally, this is the model which was defined several years back, and it refers to the IEC 62443. This is the Purdue model. It starts from the level 4. When we are talking about the IT infrastructure, generally it relies between the level 4 and level 5 above. This has, let's say, your web application server, it can have your email server, it can have the workstations which are on your site. And then this is connected to grabbing a pen here. So this is the level 4 systems. Mostly you'll find IT infrastructure here. Then you have a DMZ in between so that you can divide, segregate the traffic, because you wouldn't want your traffic to flow from the least secure to the high secure zone, which I will talk about when I move forward. But we have segregations. We have multiple firewalls in between. So we have a process control network PCN firewall over here. Excuse me. We also have application servers. We have support workstations which are there, and we have patch management servers. So these information are being pushed down towards the domain controller, towards the application server for patches. They can be probably a AV server here, which will be used for pushing the patches for the antivirus or updating the signatures. And we will have some operator stations, support workstation, which would be probably connected to somewhere here. It would be there will be a jump box which will let you get access from the level 4 going towards the level 3, and from the level 3 you will get on the level 2 and level 1. So if you look at this whole, you will see that it looks similar to an IT infrastructure. From the penetration testing point of view, if you have, if any of you have already done your OSCP, you should know that there is a student environment, there is a engineering environment. There are multiple types of groups where you enter and then you obtain access to that machines. So here it is something similar, and at the end you have the actual controllers, which controls the valves, which controls the flow of machines. And another interesting thing is that there are SIS. We will talk about the safety instrumentation systems here, how important they are when we are talking about penetration testing. So this is a standard. I got this from the SANS architecture. However, I have built my own with some small logos and stuff. This helps me in making, things more clear. So again, look, if you keep that architecture in mind for the Purdue model, you will also look at this, and it would make more sense. So what do we have on the business plan? We have enterprise systems, we have domain controllers, email workstations, and then we have maybe a SOC running, maybe a couple of web servers to host the website of the company or some websites locally. Moving down, we have remote access servers. When we are talking about OT, again, we need some management. So some vendor would come in from outside, from the cloud, and he would want to access or make changes in the logic, or let's say update some firmwares or manage something. So he would go from the internet to the machines down in your level 3. So for that purpose, you would of course go through a jump box. So you would have some kind of access. I've seen some sites having TeamViewer, which is very rare, but most of the time I see Citrix, I see 𝐒𝐞𝐚𝐤𝐞𝐫, I see OpenVPN. Once you drop down to this level, you will have start getting access to the machines which are on the level 3 and the level 2. So explaining these while going down, so generally I find the OT, there are two kind of domain controllers. You will find a domain controller in the IT side of the world. You will find a domain controller in the OT side of the world. So you will find a couple of domain controllers, and sorry, this was one, and then you'll find HMI. HMI is generally the screen where it will show the graphical interface of whatever process you are running. Let's say a process can be as simple as a coffee roaster, a commercial coffee roaster, which controls the valves. When the coffee goes in the feeder, it will start vibrating the feeder, where the coffee will start flowing to different silos, and from there it would start getting into the boiler or the heat exchanger, where the temperature would be controlled, and it will keep on changing the temperature till it roasts the coffee. Once the coffee is roasted, it will now push it out to another conveyor, which will cool down the coffee beans, and once the coffee beans are cooled down, then it will go into another storage, or it will go for the bagging area. So all of these processes, when you look at from the HMI, it will show you that what is running, what is the temperature, what is the pressure. So you will find all of these information here, and there are a lot of log collectors which we find they're constantly monitoring for any changes. They're collecting all of the data. The data is then, now we see that it is now fed to it goes out, and then it is fed to the AI, and then they get more useful information, how to improve the process, what to do about if there's any change in the roast which is required. And so this was the example of a coffee roaster. this can be applied with a lot of different things. Let's say a cement factory, or even a pharmaceutical. Let's say they're mixing different chemicals to develop a medicine. So everything will be from controlled from there. And then we have DCS systems, we have PLCs, we have remote terminals, and then I was talking about safety systems. So this is my Pretty model. I generally use this one. It makes things very easy. There's a crown over here. It's specifically placed over here because I would want to talk about when I'm discussing the attacks. I have created a scenario. So when I talk about that attack, then I'll explain you how important, why if you reach here, what is the importance while conducting a pen test. So now moving forward, we'll talk about the OT cyber attacks. Okay, so while we are talking about the cyber attacks, this is one of the there's several different attack timelines which I was able to find, but this was something which I could more correlate to. And when we are talking about OT cyber attacks, mostly when we start with Stuxnet. So we will discuss about Stuxnet in a little bit more detail. We will talk about Shamoon 2, which happened in Saudi Arabia. We have the German Steelman, which was compromised. There was a physical damage when it was compromised. Ukraine power grid was compromised in 2015. Ukraine power grid was also compromised in 2016 as well. There are a lot of water treatments which are being compromised. The recent compromised water treatment was in US in 2024, which was last year. So that was very recent, but nowadays we see a lot of water treatment compromises. Another thing which we talk about a lot while talking about the cyber attacks is not Petya. So this is all related to, because this is 2017, it was mostly related to the eternal blue vulnerabilities. So wherever the eternal blue vulnerability was there, the threat actors, they compromised the machines, got access, disabled some controllers, added some ransomware. Then we have the traces. We will talk about the safety systems moving forward when we talk about the timeline. So we'll see that there are a lot of cyber attacks which are happening, and these are the ones which are known attacks. I think that if you look even before year 2000, I'm sure that there are more attacks which happened, but probably it was unknown. Maybe it wasn't disclosed at that point. Maybe it's not still clear that it was a cyber attack or it was a real world issue. But these are the ones which were identified during that time. So talking about Stuxnet, it's perhaps the most famous OT cyber attack. Success was highly sophisticated computer worm that targeted Siemens industrial control systems. It was primarily used in the Iranian nuclear facility. It was designed to speed up alter the centrifuges in the uranium enrichment plant to cause physical destruction, while it was showing on the operator station that everything looks normal. So this was an example of a cyber attack with physical damages. So it was, let's say, kinetic cyber physical attack where something physical was happened, and I am not sure if there was any injuries during this, but there was a leakage, so there was a physical damage. So this is one of the example. Second example is I have a picture of this Windows XP machine, and this was recorded when the Ukrainian power grid attack happened. This was the first confirmed cyber attack to successfully shut down the power grid. Hackers infiltrated Ukrainians' power distribution facility and cut off the electricity. Approximately over, I think it was over 200,000 residents, they were affected. And the time when it happened, it was very cold. So there was no electricity for the next 6 hours. Uh, the attackers, they used combination of malware and denial of service to cause this outage. The malware was called the Black Energy 3. If you look at the attack chain of Black Energy 3, you will find out that I think it started from the phishing attack and going towards their PLCs shutting down. Then there was an other attack. It was called the In Destroyer crash over. It was again on the Ukrainian power grid. It was a malware which was specifically designed for electric power systems so that it can, could control the electric substation switches and circuit breakers directly, allowing for remote physical effects from a cyber intrusion. So we'll talk about 3 more attacks, and I wanted to add something because we are doing for CERT Pakistan. We have wanted to add something for Pakistan as well. But first, we'll look at the TriSys Triaconics. This malware targeted safety instrument systems. This was a Saudi Arabian petrochemical plant. The intention was to disable the safety systems, but it put in so that it can potentially cause catastrophic industrial accident. This attack was particularly alarming because it targeted systems that were supposed to prevent the safety threshold from being exceeded. So safety systems are basically used, they're set with a threshold that if X gas is being released for some time, then the system needs to be shut down in a safe manner. And this is also very important when we look at the penetration testing. So we need to be careful where we have safety systems. If wrongly triggered, you can disable them. You can cause a denial of service. If you cause a denial of service, they will trigger and it will start a next, a shutdown process. And in 2020, we saw the Israeli water facility cyber attack. It was April 2020. So the hackers basically compromised the facility and they tried to increase the chlorine level in the water. This attack was aimed at the water treatment system. And this is again an example of what physical harm can be caused when a system is compromised. So I believe adding too much chlorine is harmful for the health. So it has a physical aspect to this attack. In 2020, September, Karachi Electric in Pakistan, it was also compromised. It was one of the significant reported cyber attack in cyber incident in Pakistan. It's not all OT based attack, but it was on a critical infrastructure. So I believe the billing system was affected. There was a ransomware called NetWalker. It's a ransomware as a service, and the attackers demanded around 3 million ransom to be paid in Bitcoin. If you watch the webinars from the National CERT of Pakistan, the episode 5, which is Cyber Incident Response Practices and Frameworks, It was delivered by Mr. Ali Paracha. He is talking about a lot about this 𝐀𝐠𝐞𝐚 attack, and probably he also touched a couple of points in his session. So it's very interesting session. I generally go through all of these sessions which were discussed in the webinars for the national CERT. I would, appreciate everyone if you can go back and have a look at his point of view on the incident response from the OT perspective as well, which he has covered. So moving forward, we have IT versus OT cyber attacks, and I will tell you what is different now. Looking at this, I have added this, but I added this due to the reason that I saw that there are many changes to this now. In IT, you will see a lot of antiviruses, you will see EDRs, and in the IT side of the world, in the OT side of the world, it is difficult to deploy. It takes time. It takes, you have to pre-qualify it and see if it is working. Is it already increasing the processes a lot? Is it slowing down the machine wherever you are running? Let's say if it is an agent-based antivirus, is it causing some performance issue on that machine? So I see that it is still something which is, at times difficult to deploy. However, it is still being deployed. It is working. There are a lot of companies that pre-qualify different antiviruses, and then they are able to use it without causing any issue or performance impact on the machine. Support is generally, I see it's still, there are a lot of support. Talking about Honeywell, because I work for Honeywell, I see that we have a lot of legacy machines which are still working. And I think by now the one of the most legacy machine, they are probably going to replace it next year. But we have a lot of machines which are running for a very long time. From the outsourcing, we see that a lot of things are outsourced while we are in the IT side of the world. In OT side of the world, from now, what I see is that there are a lot of new vendors which have popped up. There are a lot of new startups which has been introduced. They are getting into the OT space of cyberspace, and there are some companies I see they are doing a really good job when we go here. So application and patches are very important. We in the OT side, we do it very slow. If I talk about different companies in the OT side, most of them, I think they qualify their patches before they roll them out. And it is very important actually to qualify all of these. Whenever you roll out new patches, you need to qualify it, whether it is for your Windows machine, your Linux machine, or even your antivirus. Because if you remember, in the past we saw CrowdStrike was affected, and because of the bad update, it brought down a lot of systems. When the machines went down because of the CrowdStrike issue, we saw how many places were affected where they were running on critical infrastructure. So I personally saw on the airport that the counters were closed because of the bad update. It was rolled out and unpatched very quickly, but I think there was a turnover time of over 24 hours, which led into a lot of issues. So then there's change management. Things move very slowly when we are in the OT side of the world. Um, down, anything which comes with the criticality in IT, I see that we can delay things. If there is a issue, we can, let's say, slow down, or wait for the next build, and then we can roll out the next build of, let's say, any application or anything. But it is in the OT, it is critical due to the safety perspective. 24/7 availability. Most of the sites are at times running 24/7. This is something interesting. I see this is totally dependent on the region. If you see in Pakistan, you would see some kind of security, physical security as well. And you will see cybersecurity. You will see on the new sites wherever I visit, I see there are a lot of security awareness programs which are built in. But security awareness also includes the physical security. So in Pakistan, I see a lot of physical security when we talk about critical infrastructure, but it's not the same in the rest of the world. It's different according to the region. Security testing, penetration testing, let's say, talk about penetration testing. You would, in your IT side of the world, you would go and you would start testing an application. Probably every second build would be security tested, or you would have a pipeline where you have security implemented in your pipeline. Whereas in the OT side of the world, it happens during probably the maintenance time, or at times we are running even pen tests on production environment. But we are very careful whenever we conduct these tests. So we will find that they are security testing, like let's say penetration test is done at least once a year. And here, as I said, that it is IT. At times it depends on the region as well, but we will find it pretty secure. But OT side, at least I have noticed during I was listening to some podcasts, and I have heard that it's not very good. So I don't think that this is very good. If you are able to get access, if you have the right clothes, then you can get access, and you can get access to different sites, and then you can walk around, do a lot of things. This is generally a part of when we are conducting a red team engagement. We see that there, if you are able to have the right clothes, you can most of the time get in. So everything is mapped. We try to map everything to the MITRE framework. This is the MITRE framework for ICS. And if you see that, you'll start looking at it, you say, oh, these are all IT attacks. So drive-by compromise is an IT attack. Exploit public-facing applications, level 5 on the Purdue model attack. Then we have remote services, internet accessibility. So you see there are a lot of IT-based attacks, phishing. But if you move on forward, you will see the impact where you will see OT side of the attack as well. So let's say modifying the firmware, you will see manipulation of the images, you will see different scenarios from here. So if I start picking up, and let's say if there's an attack which is being conducted, we can start an attack from exploiting public-facing applications, find out if there is any, let's say, a command line interface, moving towards getting persistence using a valid account. After you get a valid account, you can start privilege escalation. Once you have escalated the privileges, then you can use different evasion techniques. In the OT side, you wouldn't find a lot of EDRs. Most of the time, it is changing now. People are moving from the traditional antiviruses and moving towards EDRs, XDRs. But this is, you will find over here, once you have evaded the let's say firewall, or you have evaded the AV, antivirus, then you would want to find what machines are there, laterally move all your tools, then make changes, or maybe you can conduct a man-in-the-middle attack. This seems all IT, right? Uh, so making changes on the PLC itself is a part of the OT. What I will do is after we have looked into the MITRE, we will now look at the OT pen test, because I just looked at my time. I want to give you the maximum information on the timeline, and again we'll go back and we will have the thing which we discussed about the MITRE. Let's correlate it with this SANS chart. So the question is, this was published in one of the articles by SANS, that where is generally the pen tests it is performed. So pen test is generally, this is in my opinion, it is mostly starts from the level 3 going towards the level 3.5 to level 3. Then you have level 2. You do conduct pen test on level 1, but not in a deeper level, because when you conduct on a deeper level, even nmaps can shut down everything. So not so much, I think, over here. It is still doable, but I think level 3.5 and level 3 you can test, because if someone is able to access from the web server and is able to get access to the jump server, then from the jump server it is easy to access level 3. And once you have access to the level 3, let's say you have access to the domain controller, then it is already game over if you have the right credentials. So one of the most important things while conducting a OT penetration test is scoping. And I have talked about scoping when I delivered other sessions as well. So you need to lock down, whenever you are conducting a OT penetration test, you need to lock down the scope completely, and you need to lock down what areas are we supposed to test, how many sites are there. At times you are able to access multiple sites from a single location. At times you are not able to, you have to travel to the secondary location. It's easy at times to test from single location, but when it's an experience going to different sites. Identifying the site objectives. Goals are very important. I think we have a slide for goals and rules of engagement. So what goal, what do you want to achieve when you are conducting a pen test? Do you want to get access to from level 4, you want to get access to the level 5, 3.5, or access to some jump server, or do you want to access level 3 devices? So what do you want from here? Whenever the OT pen test is conducted, it's mostly, I would say it is gray box testing, because most of the time it is an internal pen test. Sites are at times air gapped, and it is much difficult to give access to anyone who is outside. So not every company has way of letting their security vendors or letting their patch management vendors get in remotely. At times they have to come in and physically connect. So need to clarify that if it is authenticated or an unauthenticated test. I generally perform an authenticated pen test. It gives best results. When you are on the site, things are different. You will walk around and you will see at times some pictures or some sticky notes which would say this is the password for this machine. It is quite common. So if you find those passwords, do you want to use them? Is that part of the engagement? We need to clarify with the customers. active scanning is something which we are already performing on different levels. However, I don't recommend conducting on level 1. So again, I have more list here. So is there any lockout processes? Also very important at times. If you have conducted a penetration test, you know that when you start scanning, or when you start spraying, would be the correct word, when you start spraying credentials, or you start spraying users, is there any lockout process? At times, I see in the IT side of the world, you do it 10 times or you do it 8 times and your user will get locked out. So if the user gets locked out, what is the impact? Then there are some compliance related questions which you should have in the scoping questionnaire. Is there an NDA in place? ITAR is a US based regulation. That data can only be handled by a US citizen. Then we have if there are any internal policies for data handling. How do you want, when you conduct a pen test, when you are done, how do you want to share the data? Do you have a process for handling that particular data? Do you want to give it in a USB by physically meeting? Do you want to print it out and submit the copy? Or do you want another secure channel where the data is encrypted at rest and also encrypted during transmit? How many meetings do you want to do? I generally recommend meetings at the end of the day when you're conducting a pen test, because there's too much things you would want to discuss, and it is always good to make the customer aware about the what was conducted on that particular day, maybe. Um, Another important times, there are safety trainings. So if there's any safety training, what is the access? The TWIC card is used in US to access different ports. So do you have any of these? In Pakistan, I am not only, I think employees for that particular organization can access the site. Otherwise, you need special permission to access different sites. So it's not very easy to access those sites. And again, the scoping. Uh, are we conducting the pen test when it's the maintenance time, or is it in production? That takes me to the rules of engagement. So when will be the test? What is the goal? Is the goal of the engagement to, let's say, compromise the domain controller or obtain access, or the goal is just to traverse a firewall and obtain access, just to verify if it is there, and different methods of, at times they are training environment. In the training environment, you can openly test a lot of things. So at times people would ask you, it's good to ask that, do you want a denial of service tested on your training environment? Do you want to see, because you cannot run denial of service on a production. So do you want to see what happens when the denial of service happens? Do you want that kind of information? Because once it is triggered, your security controls will kick in, or your SIM will start not, let's say, producing logs. Then what will happen? So do you want to test all of these things? Now coming to the techniques, network scanning. It's something which is conducted. I still use Nmap. I've developed a methodology with over the time. So the script which I use for scanning the network takes a lot of time. It takes over an hour to scan one asset, but it is very safe. It was built to run safe. So yeah, nothing happens. However, if you ask someone from the OT side who knows a little bit um, about network scanning, they would say no. You cannot run an Nmap scan because it is too dangerous. It can cause an issue. Yes, it can cause an issue if you don't know how to tame your Nmap. So if you, of course, start parallel scanning, increasing threats and stuff, so then it can cause a lot of issue. But we start with a typical asset discovery phase running Nmap. What we exploit known vulnerabilities. Let's say zero log on. We will exploit Blue Key, SMB Ghost, Eternal Blue, Log4j, vCenter I have done several times because I see on different sites we have VMware, vCenter running, and the older version has a Log4j vulnerability which can be exploited once you have access to your vCenter, which means that you can access any VM directly. You can attach any disk. You can obtain access to the whole virtual infrastructure. Command and control infrastructure. So once you have compromised, you run your C2s. There are several tools which can be used. You can use Cobalt Strike, which is very known. Core Impact is a very known tool as well. Or you can simply use Metasploit or modify your own covenant. Again, a known C2. There are several C2s which can be used, and it depends on the expertise. Cobalt Strike also has. There's a C2 which looks similar to Cobalt Strike. I cannot recall the name right now, but that is also very effective. Then we will go to the credential theft. Yes, it is same like the IT side of the world. So you would try to get some privileges, exploit services, run mimikatz, dump hashes, move forward, reuse these hashes. Probably you'll find some passwords like engineer123 or site 123 site at 2024 didn't work, so let's try it site at 2025 because it's 2025 and boom, you see that it's working. This is something very common. So when you're spraying passwords, a lot of times these passwords, when you create, let's say Coffee Inc. at 12345 or Coffee at 12345 would work. So we see a lot of these type of these type of passwords, and the C2 which I was talking about is called Havoc C2, which is similar to Cobalt Strike. Then unprotected services. Interesting thing over here is at times people ask me what is the secret sauce. So at times I'll spill the bean. The secret sauce is that they're open file shares. There are a lot of VMs in the NAS, and when there are VMs in the NAS, it means that you can access the drives in that VM, and it also means that you can extract some hashes, which is very interesting. And another interesting thing is unquoted service path. There's a picture I added of Peas. So this is a tool called WinPeas. It's a very interesting tool. Once you run that tool, it will tell you issues, let's say, similar to the unquoted service path. So if a file, if the path to an executable is not inside quotes, Windows will try to execute everything ends before the space. So which means replacing binaries, and there are a lot of things which you can do. And then there are AD, Active Directory vulnerabilities. You can curb roast, abuse access control list, and ASREP roasting style attacks. Man-in-the-middle attacks are also very common. So man-in-the-middle, I will specifically talk about one type of man-in-the-middle, that is over IPv6. So IPv6 has precedence over IPv4. Whenever you are running any attack on IPv6, it would ignore the IPv4, DHCP6 will kick in, and then you can abuse the DNS from there, and a lot of things which you can do from there. MiTM6 is one of the tools which can be used in this space. I'll quickly talk about the scenarios and then one of the scenario, and then we can wrap this because I'm reaching my 47-minute right now. So attack timeline. This is a architecture which I created. So we have a penetration tester. He's trying to access the level 4. He has access to level 4, and then he is trying to, let's say, physically connected via LAN. He will try to get access to level 3.5. So when we are conducting a test, we will first see if we have directly access to the level 3. At times there are no firewalls in between, so you can access level 3, and even you can access level 3.5 and level 3. At times I've seen that there are no firewalls in between, or there are no specific rules which are created. So it is very important to have these firewalls and block all the traffic which are flowing through. Generally, we start with network scanning, scan everything on the network. Then we go to the vulnerability assessment and the exploitation phase, where we'll try to find what vulnerabilities are there. So let's say in my scenario, I was able to exploit one of the machines on the level 3. It was connected to one of the jump boxes, and it was RDPing into the jump boxes. So there was a RDP connection over here, and from here I was able to sniff the connection, and I was able to get access, able to get some kind of credentials. Once I had the access, I was on the jump box. So when I was on the jump box, it means that everyone connects to the jump box. I love this jump box, because whenever everyone connects to this, it means that it has all the passwords which are traversing, which are going through this machine, because they are using this machine to connect to the other machine. So user ABC and XYZ, everyone is connecting to this machine. So once you connect, you save those credentials, forward those credentials, and then you can move on with the credential theft. You can move on, set up C2. So maybe when this is compromised, set up C2 over here, set up C2 over here. Now you will have a connection from pivoting from here, and it is pivoting from here. So now you have two connections. Once you have access, you will the jump box will probably give you access, and there will be some internal connection to some of the devices on your level 3. Once you have access to your level 3 devices, then it is easy to obtain access everywhere else, because probably your domain controller will be sitting somewhere, will reuse the connection password and get access. So the penetration tester, who is right here, he started the engagement, going from here, getting access to this device, from there harvesting credentials and forwarding the credentials to here. And from here, maybe you landed up to the domain controller, access credentials. You have credentials relate to here. Once you have relayed this credential, now coming back to what, if you remember initially what I told you, that I have this count. So if you have access to this, it means you have access to everything, because here you can switch off stuff, you can switch down stuff, you can print stuff, you can use cameras, you can use a lot of things from here. So ultimate goal generally during a pen test would be maybe compromising the domain controller, or if it is a non-domain environment, which they are more non-domain environment, at times they're password sharing which is being done. So you will be able to find passwords which are similar. So if you look from here, this is IT, this is all IT, but if you see till here, most of the time it is an IT network. The only thing is you have to be careful about certain machines that you do not disrupt these machines, and you do not make any changes. There's a reverting process as well, generally when there's a cleanup process. So when you are done getting access um, to your target, then you would start cleaning up. So then you would go all the way back and start cleaning, okay, removing your malware or your toolkit from here, 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 and the whole chain. So you will keep on removing your tools and exit out from here. So their domain controller vulnerabilities like curve roasting, the privilege escalations, which can be done. At times you would find domain controllers unpatched. Even the patched ones, you will find there are a lot of other headline issues which can be used. Let's say if the machines are not hardened, then you will still be able to get access. Weak credentials. There are non-technical vulnerabilities such as the ones which I was telling you, or maybe there is a sticky note lying here and it says password 123. So uh, uh, this will actually, when you log in, you will find notepads and you will find Excel sheets at times which has passwords. So that is considered non-technical vulnerability. Then you can use lol bins, lol drivers, uh, and at times it is very interesting when you are conducting a test. Generally I have in one incident even found PS exec which was on the system while conducting a pen test. And it happened to me in both of the world and my IT side of my career, and I have seen this in the OT side of the career. So PS exec file was already there. I used the existing PS exec, and then using the existing PS exec, I was able to obtain access. And then we have, the misconfigurations which are done on the machines. There are lack of security controls. Not every machine, let's say 10 machine are enabled with an antivirus. The 11th one doesn't have an antivirus. So that gives you a point where you can access that machine or compromise that machine. Then there's, critical security vulnerabilities, like in the old machine, talking about Eternal Blue. So that is one of the, core vulnerabilities which were exploited back in the days a lot. Excuse me. Then there are design flaws. So these zones and conduits in the pretty model, they're not clearly defined. So these are generally the headline issues when you are conducting OT penetration test. Now, I'll take you to the career page and we'll talk about some certifications because there are a lot of people who ask me from my point of view that what are the certifications we should have. So it's always good to have some certification from offensive security. I think OSCP is good to have when you are getting into penetration testing and OT penetration testing, because this will help you in learning how to pivot from one network to another. CRTP is very good. You will be able to um, use your Windows machine and you would be able to run different scripts, PowerShell scripts through your Windows machine and obtain access. Highly dependent on the domain environment, so that generally brushes your, that skill set. GPEN, you don't have to always take a training for GPEN. So the people would say that, we are not able to pay that $10,000-12,000 for GPEN or GCISP. However, you can still pay the same amount as your OSCP for an exam. So you can give an exam for GPEN. Same for GICSP. You'll find a lot of materials which are already out there on the internet, and then there are specific certifications like 62443 from ISA. That would help you out. It starts from the basic fundamental and then goes towards the expert level, which takes some time, but I think I have seen a lot of people who have completed it. So again, certifications are always good to have. I know several people who don't not have any kind of certifications. However, they are able to still do very good when they are conducting the assessment. So this brings me on to my last 1 minute for the slide. I think we can use that time for the Q&A. If you're okay, we can start a Q&A session, and also once we have ended this webinar, I think it will be released, a record session will be released. In the recorded session, I would add some links, or probably I will add a slide at the end where I would mention some notable people I follow, or some let's say simulation environment which are already out there, which you can test, keeping it very safe. Some books which I would want to recommend. So probably I will do that at the end when we have a recording.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you, Talib. We should proceed towards the Q&A session.
Assalamu alaikum. Am I audible?
Yes, आप हैं audible.
I wanted to ask two things. One is that about Nmap, when we have the OT systems and we use network mapping systems, or we try to find out every product, we leave the track of all those in a SIEM solution or a source solution. So how come the investigation could be done so that all the tracks could be backtracked to that single IP that was using the Nmap, and especially how to configure that IP is intentionally doing those things. I hope you understand my question.
No, actually.
Okay.
So,
So basically, let me shorten it. बेसिकली होता कुछ यूँ है कि हमारे पास जब nmap यूज हो रहा होता है ओटीज में, तो ओटीज में ये होता है कि वो जो सीम या सॉर का कोई भी सोल्यूशन लगा हुआ हो ना, तो वो उस सारे रिकॉर्ड्स को कैप्चर कर रहा होता है. बट द थिंग इज दैट आपके पास जब कोई इंसिडेंट हो जाता है, तो उसके बाद हम लोग बैक ट्रैक करते हैं कि ये जो इंसिडेंट स्टार्ट किधर से हुआ था, तो वहाँ उस मोमेंट पे उस डिवाइस को पिन पॉइंट करना थोड़ा सा डिफिकल्ट हो जाता है, और मेकिंग श्योर कि हाँ वो डिवाइस किसी वैलिड यूजर ने, क्योंकि इनसाइड मोल्स भी होते हैं, वो इनसाइड मोल ना हो या कोई ऐसा बंदा जो जिसने सिस्टम को इन्फेक्ट किया हुआ हो, तो वो सारे क्यूरीज को कैसे सॉल्व किया जाए.
I'll answer your question, but this is more. So the question was that, and correct me again if I'm wrong. The question was that, let's say if we are conducting a pen test, and he would want to identify who actually conducted a Nmap scan on the network. So I think this is more of related to a security, your monitoring capabilities. So I think if you have a better monitoring capabilities, you said that you already have a SOC, maybe you are missing some logs. Maybe you don't have advanced logging enabled. Maybe because it is on the network, you don't have all of the network logs which are being collected. So maybe you need advanced logging, and from there you can identify. I know that even if you pick up any open source SIM solution, it would be able to easily identify. Let's say, at my home, I have a security onion stack which is running. Every single time I run a nmap script, it is easily picked up by that nmap. And I have some agent-based, let's say, sim running. So they are running with Bro and Zeek, also my firewall also has all of these configured to send off syslogs to my SIM solution, which I have. So I think this is more towards the enabling advanced monitoring and having more control. You are able to identify eventually the threat actor.
I was more about talking digital forensics. Like when we investigate, तो उस टाइम पे हमारे पास जो सिनेरियोज आते हैं, उस टाइम पे जो सिचुएशंस होती हैं, उनको किस तरह देखा जाए in the field of OT. अच्छा, basically that thing I was dealing with was that an OT incident happened. I was trying to deal with it, and at that moment the system was infected, and there was a I hope you know with the it was kind of like a feat encryption modules that were used with an executable. So it was kind of a chaotic thing. So that stuck me. So,
Okay,
so
so this is
yeah,
related towards the forensic. What you can do is just ping me directly. We can have a conversation on this because this is more towards the forensics. I
okay.
would, like to take a question on penetration
Sure, I
testing.
will.
Ping me directly. Reach me out on LinkedIn. Ping me directly, and we can have a discussion.
Okay,
But
sure.
you are talking about, let's say, in the assume breach concept. So what happens if there was an actual breach or if there's an assumed breach?
Sure, I will be pinging you.
Okay, I'll let me see if there are some questions on the chat.
Yes.
So Junaid, they were some audience, Junaid Akbar, there were some audience who were not able to understand in Urdu. That is the reason we had to do it in English. Junaid, maybe कोई एक और सेशन कर लेंगे जिसके अंदर हम उर्दू
Sir,
में बट
Sure, sure, sure.
sir, doesn't matter. Just for making some more comfort this session, I was asking to go through in Urdu as well, and just you can say the same words in the starting of the session, right?
तो मुझे बेसिकली इमरान भाई ने ही रिक्वेस्टेड इमरान साहब ने मुझे
Yes,
कि
yes. He also replied to me that there are some foreigners over here, so we can understand that totally.
तो वो बेसिकली इसलिए मैं जो है ना वो सेशन नहीं कर सका था बिकॉज बहुत सारे लोगों ने मुझे रीच आउट किया था जो नहीं बोल सकते थे दिस इज द रीजन आई एम सॉरी
Sir,
बट कोई और सेशन कर सकते हैं हम जो हम पूरा ही उर्दू में करें
Sure,
sure,
sure.
sir,
बिल्कुल
sure. You are great,
बिल्कुल
sir. You
करेंगे.
are great, sir.
थैंक
सर
यू
मेरा छोटा सा एक क्वेश्चन था कि अपने नेटवर्क को मोर सिक्योर करने के लिए और ओटी पेनिट्रेशन टेस्टिंग वगैरह के लिए क्या सिस्को का सॉल्यूशंस बेटर है?
मैं तो बहुत वेंडर एग्नोस्टिक हूँ तो आई वुडंट पॉइंट आउट टू एनी सिंगल सॉल्यूशन बट ऑफ कोर्स बहुत सारे सॉल्यूशन है मुझे नहीं पता आप बहुत ब्रॉडर टर्म में बात कर रहे हैं तो आप आर यू टॉकिंग अबाउट फायरवॉल का बोल रहे हैं या आप किस
सर
चीज
मैं सिस्को मिराकी नेटवर्क के हवाले से बोल रहा हूँ, क्या सिस्को मिराकी नेटवर्क इज गुड फॉर नेटवर्क सिक्योरिटीज?
ये तो डिपेंड करता है आपकी सिचुएशन के ऊपर और आपकी उस एनवायरनमेंट के ऊपर सो मैं तो ऑफ कोर्स एवरीथिंग मैं तो कहूंगा कि हाँ अच्छा है लेकिन मुझे नहीं पता कि आपका क्या सिनेरियो है क्या वो है बट यस मिराकी का सोल्यूशन अच्छा है
Right, sir. I will ping you out if I will have some any question of that. Thank you very much.
सर
Thanks, Agar.
मोहम्मद हसान का एक क्वेश्चन है इट सेज काइंडली इलैबोरेट मोर अबाउट प्रैक्टिकल approach to OT hacking OT systems. So I think I already did explain at the end because this is 9:23, which means that we were halfway there. Yeah, I think I already explained. And the next question is automation approach manual. So a lot of testing which we perform are manual and a lot of testing which we conduct they're automatic initially I think on the level 4 3.5 you can run a lot of automated scans Asim Zahoor 𝐒𝐲𝐞𝐞𝐬𝐶2 yes thank you so much it was 𝐒𝐲𝐶2
Babar, we have question from Mohammad Hassan and Mohammad Akhtar. Mohammad Akhtar.
Okay, sir.
can you share your LinkedIn okay my LinkedIn okay this is my LinkedIn I have pasted in the chat
Hi, Assalamu alaikum. Am I audible?
जी.
Yeah. So my question is, can you tell us the proper checklist, for network pen testing or server pen testing, we have checklist on hack tricks. Even you say that if we run aggressive nmap scan, then it will shut down the whole OT system.
Yeah.
So then can you tell us proper checklist or proper scripts and proper methodology, or you can somehow reference the books or whatever you want.
For sure, I will refer, as I said before closing, that I will refer some of the books I would recommend. I would refer some people you can follow. I reshare myself a lot of material which are shared by different industry experts. So I will put them on my LinkedIn. I keep on adding them on my LinkedIn. The only thing about LinkedIn is that if you add me, send me a message and say hi, so that at least I know it's not a bot, because I can show you my LinkedIn is full with bots, fake requests. So this is the reason I would appreciate when someone adds me, the just write a hi or just tell me that they were in my session.
Oh,
Yeah, sir.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I would like first to introduce myself. MS Information Security and about 16 years of industrial control system experience, starting from very old Honeywell TDC 3000,
Okay.
and now we yes, that you can see that how old I am. But actually we have phased out that in 2011 with Subcon Chinese
Okay.
product, and now we are using most of our stuff is Subcon or Holysys. That's both are Chinese.
Sir.
My question is that all the scenario you have discussed is based on the the network that is connected with the business network,
Yes.
and all the attacks coming from the network side that is connected from the business and from the IT part of this whole OT network.
Yes.
My question is that is you have experienced that there is a direct threat surface on the OT network beside the business network?
So if you're talking about, are you talking about air gap networks?
Yeah, I am about the air gap networks, that is isolated systems.
So if the system is totally isolated, this is a very good example. Let's say this is an iPad, right?
Yeah.
If I completely disconnect it from the internet, I switch on the airplane mode, and it never gets connected, and I keep it unpatched for several years, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm decreasing the attack surface, right? Once the
Yes.
attack surface is decreased, I don't have any access on this, and it is completely isolated, then you wouldn't find any attack.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if it is completely isolated, which at times a lot of companies or a lot of people, they say that, our network is completely isolated. I think the nuclear networks are completely isolated and air gapped. They are data diodes in between, and that is also, blocking any kind of traffic flowing from the IT network going towards the OT network. But if it is completely air gapped, then there's nothing which can be done. Being very honest, other than if there is a insider threat, someone puts in a USB, and let's say that USB has a malware, and that maybe USB is able to enable a Wi-Fi adapter on your network. So if the Wi-Fi adapter is enabled through somehow, it can act as an access point. Once it is acting as an access point, then you have, access there. Or let's say there's a very interesting another scenario. There is I'm sure you are aware um, about the bad USBs. So they are rubber duckies and they're malicious OMG cables. I have a lot of them with me, which I use for testing. But let's say if I plug in one of those USBs in any machine, right, and it is connected to my phone. I create an access point on my phone, and it is connected to my phone. So everything which is going through that system, I can push malwares. I can make it connect as a removable drive. I can make it type something, which means I can type payloads. I can send payloads all through a device which is on a air-gapped network. So USB threats are still one of the top threats in the industry. So when it is air-gapped, it's not air-gapped properly. There is some kind of medium which is traveling through.
Yes, one more thing that nowadays all the system, what I have experienced that all the Chinese DCS and the rest of the DCS are using Windows operating systems. And Windows operating system for their HMI and process monitoring purposes, it is also have some issues that even there's a lot of vast threat actor for the whole operating system. So is there any solution for that kind of stuff that we can reduce our our operating system to minimize the threat surface?
So to minimize threat surface, you can start with hardening. So you can pick up CIS benchmarking, start hardening from the benchmark. I have tested some systems which were hardened with the CIS benchmarking, and without the CIS benchmarking, both machines were fully patched up to date, but one was hardened, the other one wasn't hardened. And this was a domain controller. So the hardened one was able to block certain kind of domain controller attacks just because it was hardened. So CIS benchmark hardening based on your Windows, whatever you are using benchmark.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay.
Okay, I think we don't have any question further. Thank you, Talib, for a wonderful session. We will surely engage you for our upcoming more interesting sessions as well. I hope and I'm confident that our participants found this session more both engaging and interesting, and informative. So thanks to all the participants. Please stay connected and keep up to date by visiting us website. Our website is pkcert.gov.pk. So we are signing out now. Thanks, Talib. Thanks a lot. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
your time.
Thank you for inviting. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are signing out now. Thanks.
For
Bye-bye.
thank you for a nice session and hope to be continued.
Sure. Thank you, sir.